Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our next panel discussion, new innovation projects and potential for the region. Innovation is the heart of aerospace industry's transformation, and Saudi Arabia is positioning itself as a leader in cutting-edge aviation and space technologies. This session will highlight key projects, emerging technologies, and strategic partnerships that are shaping the future of aerospace in the kingdom and beyond. Our moderator will be Dr. Samir Al-Jabari, Chief Advisor at NIDC. He will guide the conversation with the following distinguished panelists. Mr. Jose Urdiales, CEO of Zero to Infinity, followed by Ms. Yvonne Winters, CEO of Flynow, Dr. Ahmed Zawawi, Assistant Deputy Minister at MIM, Mr. Artem Korotygin, CEO of Technical Advisors at NAMI, and Ms. Diana Siegel, CFO of Electra.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Everyone stayed here or will win $1 million? Because we see a lot of people just left the panel here or the hall. No discussion can be completed without a detailed discussion about advanced technologies and the future of aviation and aerospace. So we've been really focused on the existing ecosystems. What can we do? This panel, this distinguished actually panel, I'm very proud to have actually had the chance to work with most of them on a lot of projects, and some of these projects are coming through the pipeline. They do represent the elite in terms of the best of the companies that have worked on advanced technologies and advanced transportation or mobility systems. So without further ado, just to conserve the time, I'd like to start with Diana. Diana, you guys are working on new concepts, hybrid electric aircraft. It may sound familiar to a lot of people from hybrid electric applications in automotive, but there is something unique about your technology. If you can just further elaborate on what would be the impact or the role of hybrid electric applications in the advanced air mobility.
Thank you, Dr. Samir, and great to be here.
We can't hear you. If you can bring it closer or...
All right, here we go. Thanks for the question, Dr. Samir, and it's great to be here. It's a big opportunity, and no better place to have this conversation than here in the kingdom, given the ambition of the country and the many developments that are happening in the regions at this time. But it's also important to recognize where we are on regional air mobility at this time today. As the aviation industry, we're hardly present on regional routes. Think 50 to 500 kilometers at this time. We're less than 2% of the mode share. That's US data, but I believe it's be very similar in other regions of the world, including Saudi. And there's a good reason for that. We've done a fantastic job as the industry to connect the world globally, but that same system, large airports that we place strategically far away from where we actually live and work, that works well for international travel, but less so for regional routes. So if you think 200 to 400 kilometer trip, Jeddah to Medina, Riyadh to Daman, that overhead of getting to and through a large airport, even though you're flying en route on the order of 800 kilometers an hour, by the time you factor that overhead in, you're doing less than 75 kilometers an hour door-to-door travel time. So phenomenally inefficient system for regional mobility, and we think that's where hybrid electric and electric aircraft can really play a role to make this a much more endurable, convenient, faster experience for the traveler. And to do so, we think you have to solve for four things. You got to solve access, get closer to where we live, work, and play, where we actually want to go. And with hybrid electric propulsion, you can do vertical takeoff. In our case, we do an ultra-short takeoff, use 50 meters of ground roll to get airborne. So you're talking soccer field-sized spaces that's easy to integrate into the fabric of an urban structure or a community. Cost, absolutely critical, which is why we're doing a ultra-stall rather than a vertical lift. which brings costs down substantially, and noise and emissions is a piece that electric and hybrid electric solves very well using distributed electric propulsion. So huge opportunity here to bring those technologies in, and as you're developing new infrastructure in the kingdom, very hard to change infrastructure once it's all done, but as you're setting it up, huge opportunity to think about those new technologies.
And so in our discussion earlier this morning, the beauty of it, it can be integrated into the existing ecosystem. You already have the airports, but it's just a different model where we have underutilization of our cluster 2, or let's just say regional airports, where you can create more connectivity within the kingdom. That's today we're just focused on the major airports. My question, I want to move to Mr. Jose. Question, how can tourism, I mean, your concept, you're the CEO of Zero to Infinity, would be nice to just give us a quick brief or what's the concept of what you're doing in your company, and how does that integrate into the tourism and Vision 2030 ambitions?
Imagine that you're sitting comfortably in a cabin, no noise, no pollution, and the sky gets darker and darker, but that's not because it's getting night. It's in the middle of the day, and the sun is getting brighter and brighter, and suddenly you see the earth blue and round below you. So that's what we are offering. We're offering the visual experience of astronauts, or what some people call space tourism. I prefer to see private individuals as explorers rather than tourists with lots of cameras hanging from their neck. But yeah, we're working to democratize space tourism. And how that can help the Vision 2030 and the industry here. And so the kind of people that are going to be doing space tourism are the kind of people that you want to attract to your country. Because these people will make investments. They will fall in love with the country even more because they've had the most incredible experience that money can pay, seeing their own home planet as a ball for the first time. And doing it from here makes sense on many levels. We can get into why. From the raw materials that SABIC produces that are the ones that are used on our balloons, because we go up there on balloons, which is the sensible way to do it rather than rockets. So yeah, I come from Spain. Spain grew tremendously and developed a lot thanks to tourism and thanks to bringing the right kind of people that then invested in the country. We experienced that some decades ago, and I'd love to be a part of that here in Saudi as well.
Well, you're welcome. That sounds very intriguing, and we look forward to working with you on this opportunity. Yvonne, we've been working on your concept and your advanced air mobility vertical or e-copter concept. Would like to hear from you, how do we unlock the low altitude economy? How does your concept contribute to the economy here in the kingdom and the growth that we're experiencing here? Would like to learn more about your applications or use cases, if you could enlighten us with that.
First of all, thank you for having me. It's a great opportunity. And the low altitude economy is an expression that the Chinese come up with. It basically covers the inner urban transportation and as well use cases for port-to-shore operations, etc. So everything that comes to eVTOL, drones, air taxis, as you call it as well. And as you mentioned, there are prerequisites to unlock the potential of this low altitude economy, and these are mainly two things. First of all, to have OEMs that are really scalable, affordable, available for different use cases and for the broad public, because otherwise you just get stuck in some, luxury applications, which doesn't really solve the issues. And when you, for instance, look at Riyadh and look at the traffic, and you want to utilize this airspace on a broad scale, you have to come up with devices that allow a broad implementation and using thousands of vehicles to really substitute some of the ground-based transportation. So this is one angle. The second thing is to have an air traffic management system that allows a ubiquitous implementation into the airspace. What does that mean? That means that We have an air traffic management system that allows small drones to operate in e-copter flying automatically like ours, and as well eVTOLs like Chobi, Archer, etc. And the air traffic management needs to fulfill as well that it is very safe, scalable, and highly automated. Because currently the issue is that one air traffic controller can only handle 10 planes simultaneously. When we are talking about the utilization of confined airspace for thousands of different vehicles, this is not feasible. So we need to apply AI system. We need to bring out the human in the loop as much as possible. And at the same time have a collision-free operation. And what we are lobbying for is to work together with the regulatory bodies, with all the stakeholders, and start with a pilot project, with a sandbox, where we can validate different vehicles, different vertiport operations, air traffic management, etc., and then start with cargo operations, then have 1 million miles cargo operation, and then start with transporting people. Because all about, in aviation, everything is about safety and security. And therefore, we have to really stick together. We have to collaborate. We have to come up with the best solutions in a safe, step-by-step manner. And this is the challenge we have. And when you look at on a global perspective, the race is on. Everyone wants to unlock this $1 trillion market. And the air authorities worldwide are extremely under pressure because they have to come up with a solution where there is no blueprint existing. And all the OEMs expect them to certify their products and to come up with a solution so that they can operate their products. But it is like you have to envision you're coming up with a new means of transport. There is no infrastructure existing. There is no rules and regulations. The market is not there. The technology is under development. The customers are not there. It's an entire new development. And it is only possible if we work in a close collaboration together. As well, the industry needs to stick together and work on a joint approach. And when I came to your office 1.5 years ago, you said, oh, it's a nice product, but how do you want to operate it?
Yes.
And I said, yeah, we do have partner companies, air traffic management, vertiports, etc. And you said, okay, this is nice, but I don't want to deal with 8 different entities, right? So this is why we formed this nonprofit organization called Sky Alliance for Automated Air Mobility to really join hands and work on a solution together.
Thanks, Yvonne. So I want to move now to the ministry, talk to Dr. Ahmed. How do you see, from the ministry's perspective, what are they targeting in terms of advanced technologies that will accelerate the growth here or the ecosystem development in the kingdom?
Thank you, Dr. Samer, and it's a great opportunity to be here in the first edition of Aerospace Connect.
Thank you.
I'm really excited to hear what Yvonne just mentioned, and I'm really excited to be part of this new world where we don't have to deal with Riyadh's congestion anymore. So I can't wait. And the ministry, focuses on aerospace as a very strategic sector. And today's event maybe addresses one of the main issues that we had in the sector in the past. We have a lot of great efforts that are fragmented. Today, we bring two people together in this event and in other efforts to bridge the gap between the service providers, between the technology providers, between the private sector and government. So in addition to the fragmentation, there is currently some challenges from an engineering point of view, from a policy point of view, getting all these new technologies up to market quickly. So we believe that technology and advanced technology is an important enabler to help this sector move forward. This can be in the form of competitiveness of existing factories, new factories, so that we can compete in a very competitive market where cost is everything, basically, efficiency. I'm sure that my colleagues here can contest that 1 kilogram of weight makes or breaks a product. So on the lifetime of
exactly,
airplane.
Aerospace matters.
And but the good news is the kingdom has the demand, whether from traditional civil aviation, military, or now even mobility. We do have the raw material, as we heard from the previous panel. We're talking about titanium, we're talking about aluminum. And I think the third pillar is advanced technology. Today, if we talk about AI, it's starting to see its way not only in operating the mobility fleet, but also in the design of these aircrafts. Today, we have intelligent engineering, where it's removing a lot of barriers and reducing the time to going from the concept to the prototyping to the final proof of concept that hopefully sees its way to. The ministry is also working on a real sectoral strategy to help adapt additive manufacturing. Today, additive manufacturing today, we're seeing a lot of use cases that are seeing its way into production, whether it's low pressure blades or heating elements that help engines be more efficient. And I think this technology might be a gateway into the sector for many people in the supply chain, if we're talking about SMEs. As we heard, this sector is a challenging sector to enter. There's a lot of know-how, there's a lot of regulation, and a lot of costs associated. How can we take that and break it down so we can have a very valid and, how can I say, sustainable supply chain? And this is, I think, where advanced technology comes in.
Thank you very much. Now I'm going to, four of our panelists are, three of our panelists are investors coming from outside. Today we have NAMI, so Artem as a CEO advisor for NAMI. NAMI was created in partnership with 3D Systems from the US, between them and Dusor. You guys have been here for a while. Would be interesting to hear your perspective, because 3D printing, as most people know it, and usually we refer to it in aerospace as additive technology. What do you see, or what is the demand in terms of aerospace applications, and how do you see the growth of this in the region and here in Saudi? And what are some of the challenges, I may add, that you guys are facing to grow that sector?
Thank you. So first, it's my pleasure to be on this panel and represent Saudi National Additive Manufacturing Innovation Company. And definitely in aerospace, there is significant demand for this technology. If we look at different subsegments, if you fly an airplane, there's certainly a lot of additive parts in airframe. Like Airbus, we have more than 100 part numbers, which are 3D printed. And they produce more than 25,000 parts per year. In every engine from CFM, you have additive parts. In every satellite launched now, you also have additive parts. So as you see, it's really growing as fast as possible, especially, let's say, in aerospace medical applications, where is very high value, high complexity applications. And in NAMI, we're trying to also implement it in Saudi as much as possible. So we're already working with several major OEMs on parts qualification, and hopefully we're finishing now one of qualification project for military helicopters, and it will be parts 3D printed in Saudi and exported and installed worldwide on entire fleet of helicopters. So we're trying also to scale such kind of success stories. I would say now it's a unique opportunity actually for the kingdom to implement technologies as state of the art. So since historically aerospace was not like main focus for the country, now we have chance not to go through entire historical path, with conventional technologies, but directly like leapfrog to where we want to be already with state-of-the-art technologies or even, let's say, look into the future. So not necessarily, we need to repeat all the mistakes from the other countries. So in NAMI, we definitely trying to work with all key major players on localization efforts as part of industrial participation programs in both military and civil aviation. And of course, let's say, as a space agency, also finalizing space strategy for the kingdom, as well as for space as well. Main challenges, to be honest, it's still supply chain readiness, and we spoke a lot about it on this forum. And there is still definitely some space for improvement, but we see a lot of players helping us also with building this ecosystem, because, okay, you can 3D print the parts, but then there is heat treatment, some special processes, coatings, even machining, let's say 3D, X-ray. So there is entire ecosystem needed if you want to achieve these targets.
Thank you. I'm going to go back to Diane. When we talk about advanced air mobility, one of the challenges that all of you actually in that domain are trying to address, which is the regulatory structure, the certification process, etc. Can you elaborate on that? Tell us what challenges you guys might be facing when it comes to your specific product, what challenges actually other products or other designs could be facing.
It's an important question, since no product can be successful out there in the market without meeting that triad of a market need, tech feasibility, and then achieving regulatory approval. So we're very mindful to stay within the regulatory framework wherever possible. And because just recognizing any time we stray outside of that bound, it's going to incur cost and time, neither of which a startup necessarily has. And maybe just to give a couple of examples of how that plays out in design choices that we made. So we went for a blown lift design that uses electric propulsors to blow air over the wing to fly on the wing from takeoff to landing. That puts us into the fixed wing category, a Part 23 certified aircraft in the US, our home regulator, and therefore we stay within a known regulatory framework rather than having to go out into a powered lift or SCE VTOL category, which is untried yet, and certainly a bigger lift to pursue. At the same time, that puts us into, for pilot training, you need a fixed wing license to fly this aircraft, so a whole lot easier to get pilots that are then able to also operate the design. We went for a hybrid electric propulsion system versus an all-electric one. That means meeting IFR reserves of 45 minutes is possible, and in terms of technology, we're basing it on existing mature technologies wherever possible. So the hybrid design is a combination of a turbo generator that's based on the Safran Arano engine. It's a certified engine, plus batteries that are in commercial production today. You're getting about 200 watt-hours per kilogram out of those batteries. By the time you get to 400, 500, it starts getting interesting to look at all electric variants, but the technology is not quite there yet. And again, that's not a risk that we're looking to bring onto the program. So goal is to get to market early with a useful product, build in the hooks then to be able to augment over time. Therefore also the choice for a fly-by-wire system, but piloted to start. That gives you the hooks for future more autonomous flight down the line. And, but I do want to give credit, I think very important, to the regulators, the regulator present here with GACA, also the regulator in the US, the FAA and also EASA. They're very supportive of new innovation and new technology, but have a safety standard to uphold, and therefore they will place the burden on us as the applicant to prove that anything that we're doing that's different and outside the realm is safe. And again, that's something to be very mindful of given time and cost that entails.
So who do you think is moving faster, FAA or EASA?
Well, admittedly, we've only worked with the FAA closely, so hard to say.
You're too biased to that.
Exactly.
And
so
then Yvonne will say, no, it's
bias,
EASA. Especially given that EASA is kind of primarily working with Austria and Poland as being the places that will develop or help develop those regulations. To go back to Jose, what role do you see for KSA in the new space sector globally. And another question is like, why do you think the concept you just shared with us about balloons and tourism, why Saudi versus anywhere else? I know you've applied it somewhere, right?
Yeah, we believe we've flown in Spain mostly.
Okay.
But yeah, why it makes sense in Saudi to fly people up there? Well, because it's big enough. Okay. Let's say you were flying from Qatar, you would be landing in Iran. Like that wouldn't be very practical, or in the middle of the sea. But Saudi is big enough. Also, it's diverse enough. When you're doing space tourism, you want to see mountains, seas, deserts, all sorts of forests, all sorts of landscapes. And there are areas in Saudi, most people don't know, but there are areas that are very diverse like that, and they are compatible with our flights, just like in Spain. But yeah, you were saying, what role do I see?
Would this encourage tourism?
It would bring people that would not just buy locally, but also invest, because they will fall in love with the place. So there's a lot of focus on foreign direct investment. Okay, so you have to offer these potential investors worldwide something that they cannot get anywhere else.
Right.
And honestly, the only places that you can get these things are, in Kazakhstan with the Russians, or in the U.S. There's demand for this. So you would bring these kinds of people. But I think it would be also transformative in the way the country sees itself. For the moment, in the new space economy, Saudi is being a strong buyer. Okay, they've been buying things here and there. That's great. But I think it's the time to take the leap and also build. And here's an opportunity. For example, some of the components for this solution for space tourism can be applied to launch your own satellites. Okay? There will be, one day, there will be an Arab nation that will have the capability to put its own satellites on demand in orbit. That doesn't exist. There is no such nation. France did launch from Algeria, but that was part of France, and that was the French. But none exists yet. I mean, so who's going to be the first? We don't know. But Saudi has everything to be the first, including 3D printing the engines right there. Now the kinds of engines that you need, you have the capability to manufacture them in-house. You have so many of the pieces. Just that you need the political will to make it happen.
So what about regulatory structure? Is there anything specific, special that we have to pay attention to? Working with GACA, working with a specific authority. Who would be the stakeholders in this whole equation?
That's a great question. Of course, GACA can be a stakeholder, and balloons are the pedestrians of the sky. Let that sink in. Balloons were there hundreds of years ago. We can't say the same for rockets or aircraft of different kinds. So the rights and regulations are very mild. Like, raise your hand. Who has been on a balloon here? Raise your hand. Okay, we have a few people, right? Who's been on a rocket, right? Or an eVTOL thing? Like nobody. Okay. So they've been around for a long time, so we know how to do these things. The regulations exist. They are very old. Of course, there are special conditions, and the devil is in the details of the special conditions.
I mean, you're asking. I'm sure a lot of people got on balloons, but it's not a high elevation. Now we're talking on the edge of Earth. So
yes, about
it
99%
takes a difference,
of the atmosphere.
So you need the brave in heart first to take a step, and then probably it becomes more of a public thing.
100%. Before tourists, you need heroes.
Exactly.
And they will be.
Any heroes, volunteers here?
I'm sure there's some.
All right. Well, thanks for that clarification, Yvonne. Kind of the same question. I want to do a hybrid question. What are the opportunities? How do we develop your product to become commercialized in the country, to become something like a revenue generator? And at the same time, what kind of challenges do you see in the regulation? Because you're more of an e-copter versus a drone. We have an ultra-short takeoff and landing. There are a lot of concepts in the ecosystem. So why you versus anybody else, I guess?
So first of all, as Dr. Ahmed mentioned, there is a huge opportunity now that the
Get
kingdom,
closer to the microphone.
that the kingdom is leading in this new industry. There is a strong visionary leadership, young and well-educated population, the financial means, the market is there, the political neutrality, so that someone who is here in the kingdom and we want to localize, we want to do production here, and it gives us the opportunity to export from here, which is very important.
Yes.
And why we are different from other eVTOL manufacturers, very simple, we are considered as a helicopter, so we go for the existing regulations like CS-VLR for very light rotorcraft and CS-27 for helicopter. We already have the first certification milestone since end of 2022. We are now on the step to increase the sale level, which allows us cargo commercial transportation. And what is as well different to other manufacturers is we apply automotive manufacturing methods for the first time in history in aviation. And this enables us to produce, when we are in full swing production, 10,000 units per year, per plant, per shift. So we can go up to 30,000 units. And this is something that has never been existed in aviation so far.
Great, thank you. Dr. Ahmed, we've seen all the investors here waiting in line. What enablers are available through the ministry? How do we accelerate the process to bring these things to reality? Of course, given the fact that they go through the proper regulatory certifications, etc.
Yes, so I don't think investors like to hear that a lot, but maybe I'll start by saying we position the ministry in the right way. Our goal now today and our success is your success. You know, investors today are, let me say, doing us a favor by succeeding because we have the same KPI. And because of that, we do launch a lot of programs. Maybe today we saw standard incentives, which is a very pillar incentive that, or critical incentive that we try to streamline a lot of the processes so that we avail it in a more standard way, quicker for the investors. But this is only one of many programs that the ministry has launched across for different types of investors, whether you are a small entrepreneur where we have the promising factory, or you want to do some R&D and proof of concept, we're partnering with our partner Radia, or you're a big partner that wants to come in as a foreign direct investment. We have the incentives committee with our partnership with MISA. So there is a solution for every type. However, if you are a special case, I always say that regulations are there or programs are there to have, we have an exception path. You should always be brave, come to the ministry, partner with us, whether to adjust the regulation and adjust the challenge. We are more than happy to take leadership to drive that change in the ecosystem. Or if, for example, there is a special case that merits an exception for a certain rule, this is very feasible, and this is the attitude that we're coming from. So it's a partnership between the investor and the ministry. The goal is to have a win-win situation, a sustainable situation, where we build an ecosystem that can thrive beyond the programs, beyond the incentives. So I encourage you all to bookmark the ministry's website. I always tell investors, because a lot of things are coming. It's very agile, if you would like.
Yes.
And I hope that answers part of the question.
I actually encourage everybody to go to the ministry's website. Explore it, explore everything. And there's a lot of information available there, from the strategy to the incentives, to the enablers. It's a fantastic resource, so I highly encourage everybody to explore that. I'm going to conclude with Artem. I don't want to be specific to aerospace. Sometimes the demand right now, I believe that the demand for aerospace is still limited because a lot of these components have to be certified, qualified when you produce them or 3D print them with the manufacturers, the OEMs. How do you see cross-pollination working at you know, let's say components, spare parts with the electric company, the Saudi electric company, or the Aramco, or any of the other existing entities in the ecosystem that can create that demand and create more encouragement for the use and applications of 3D printing or additive technology?
Yeah, thanks a lot. Actually, great question. So, you know, 3D printing is a bit removing the borders between different industries. Let's take, if we have metal 3D printer with titanium. So on this 3D printer, we can do medical implants with titanium, like spinal cages, hip caps, and so on.
Yes.
We can do brackets for satellites. Then we can do high-speed impellers for oil and gas. From our side, we can do also motorsport parts, and so on and so on.
So, sorry for the interruption, but what's the biggest part you can do today?
So it's,
NAMI.
in NAMI, you can do up to half-meter size part.
Half-meter size,
Yes,
okay?
yes.
Just for the audience so they know.
It's
Okay.
half-meter cube. And basically, you see, like, there is no border using the same technology, the same machine. You can really address different segments. And similar with polymers, and, you know, especially Kingdom is really strong in polymers. So, you know, with polymers, with PA12, for example, and SLS process, we printed sulfuric acid operations nozzle for Ma'aden. And with the same printer, you know, we printed motor fans for Aramco, for SEC, also working with Saudi on interior parts, for example, for airplanes. Because, again, it's like using similar materials, similar technology. So I think, let's say, it's really important to address, let's say, these sectors which can diversify and work for several different segments. And, you know, like Kingdom historically very strong in oil and gas, for example. So we can already utilize current infrastructure, for example, for testing, to test our parts for aerospace. Of course, there are still some gaps to be closed to aerospace standard, but it's doable. And then when we close these gaps, actually we can do like reverse leverage. So we can use these new testing methods which we introduce for aerospace, for oil and gas parts, you know, to improve like reliability, quality, and so on. So I think there is huge potential really to use industries which are already strong in the Kingdom and to apply to aerospace and aviation.
Thank you very much. I thank the panel. We have a little bit of time left over, actually. Now, I would like to take the opportunity, if anybody in the audience have any questions for the panel, just make sure they're very easy questions, huh? Anybody has a question, a thought, maybe wants to learn more about their products, specific products in here? No questions? Can you guys print titanium, aluminum parts right now in addition to plastics, or you have limitations? Okay. So you have no limit for any kind of thing. Because one of the new applications I know of is actually 3D printing carbon fiber components. Is that true? Do you guys have that capability today?
That's, to some extent, it's limited. Yes, you can print, let's say, short fiber reinforced composites. Okay. But of course, you cannot print composites which, you know, textile, which used in typical aviation. So that's something still needs to be done using traditional methods.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming. Fantastic discussions, and I hope the audience also have learned a lot of new things in here. You have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, from the previous panel. That was a great discussion. I would like to announce that it is lunch break, so you guys have until 1:30, and we will reconvene in this hall. Thank you.